All right, here is a brief overview of the book of Revelation. If you don't like reading, I recorded all 22 chapters. You can go listen to it. They have it's an hour and 6 minutes runtime. So you can do the entire book of Revelation in an hour and 6 minutes. I don't recommend it. You should do one chapter at a time and then think about it. Things to keep in mind: 7 seals. These were opened in period during the end of September, beginning of October in 2021. I recorded that experience. You can go listen to it. It's on YouTube and Reels, so you can go check it out, both YouTube and Instagram. Then you've got the 7 trumpets, the 3 woes, the little scroll, the 2 beasts. One of these beasts is an entity comprised of other physical entities. One of these beasts is a U.S. politician. You have the Antichrist. I don't know who that is. You have the 2 witnesses. I don't know who they are, but I want to meet them. You got the 3 angels with 3 messages, the 7 final plagues, the great prostitute, which is America, and the beast. And then you've got the 7 bowls of God's wrath. So you have to come to grips with what humanity calls America, God calls Babylon. Born-again Christians attack me for telling them this. Why on earth are people who state openly their homes are in heaven, why do they get so offended that God is going to destroy a landmass that they happen to reside on temporarily? Isn't that weird? I find it bizarre. America is Babylon. That's according to God himself. And God devotes 2.5 chapters to the destruction of America. Half of chapter 16, all of chapter 17, all of chapter 18 are what God's going to do to America. Go watch it or go listen to it. Find out what's going to happen. The Bible never mentions a 7-year tribulation. The Bible never says rapture. Nowhere in the Bible is a rapture mentioned. People are taking something out of context. We'll get into that in a minute. And the Bible never mentions a 3rd temple. There's no 3rd temple in there. How do I know all this stuff? I read the Bible. So real quick, what's happening here? Chapter 1 is the prologue and the introduction. Chapters 2 and 3 are the 7 letters to the 7 churches. This is an amazing, fun rabbit hole to go down. You have to look at these churches, the cultures, the cities where these churches were located in, and what was going on during that time. It's fascinating. And the best part is you learn so much about God, his personality, his nature, and his character. And there's some tips in there about God's cheeky sense of humor, which I love. Then you've got the Great Tribulation, which is chapters 4 through 11 and chapters 13 through 19. Chapter 12 is a flashback to when Satan and his demons were kicked out of heaven. And then the key thing to notice about chapters 13 through 19, chapter 14 is a summary of chapter 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So if you read chapter 14 and then read 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, or do that in the reverse, it'll make more sense. Then you've got, in most of chapter 20 is Jesus' 1,000-year reign. Then the end of chapter 20, Satan is released to tempt humanity for the last time. Then chapter 21 and 22, new heavens and the new earth. So what's going on here? We're living in the Great Tribulation right now. The pre-trib rapture is out of the question. Why? Because the rapture already started. The mid-trib rapture is out of the question. Why? We, born-again Christians, are God's messengers to the lost. And the message of the gospel is needed more now than ever. So if you're a Christian sitting around waiting for the rapture, you need to get off your lazy cowardice behind and get out there and start sharing the gospel of Jesus, because more now than ever, people need it. In a very short period of time, somewhere in the neighborhood of over 7 billion people are going to be burning in hell. You need to put your cowardice aside. Get out here and start preaching the gospel. Then, so the Antichrist, he rules and reigns for only 3.5 years. The Bible tells us it's 3.5 years. The 2 witnesses prophesy against the Antichrist for the entire 3.5 years. The Antichrist kills the 2 witnesses, and their bodies lie dead in the street for 3.5 days. The worldly people, the satanic of the world, they're celebrating. They're celebrating the death of these two godly people. Unfortunately for them, after 3.5 days, their celebration comes to an abrupt halt when God brings the two witnesses back to life in front of everyone. And he calls them up to heaven, and they ascend to heaven in plain view of everybody. Then the final destruction comes. The Antichrist, Satan, the two beasts, the false prophet, all of their minions, spiritual and physical, are put into hell for all eternity. Jesus comes. He begins his 1,000-year reign. Jesus' return is the end of the tribulation. Jesus' return is the beginning of Jesus' 1,000-year reign. There is no rapture. That's not here. At the end of Jesus' 1,000-year reign, Jesus goes back up to heaven. Satan is released to tempt humanity one last time. It's an unspecified time frame. The Bible doesn't tell us how long. At the end of that time frame, the Archangel Michael puts the final smackdown on Satan, shoves him into the pit of hell, where he will spend the rest of eternity. If the rapture from 1 Thessalonians happens, it's right here. Because God is destroying the old earth. So all of the people who held tight to God get raptured into heaven. All of the people who turn down God burn in hell with Satan. God creates a new heaven and a new earth. That's chapter 21 and 22. There's a brief synopsis of the book of Revelation. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Stay in prayer, stay in the Word, stick close and tight to God, because these are perilous times. God bless you guys.